You tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need. We give you outspoken thoughts about all the headlines. We talk baseball, football, hockey, and more. No matter the topic, we cover it. Get ready for the show and keep it outspoken. Keep it outspoken. We keep it outspoken only on the Sportscast. Tune into the Sportscast with Brian, Craig, and Jeff. Give you all the sports news you need.
Hey guys, welcome in. It's been a little bit. It's been a hot minute since we've both been on here. How's it going, Craig?
Howdy, sir.
All right, we got episode 219 for you. It's all about football. We're going to talk about the college football rankings. That's been a big mess of who's going to get in, who's going to be left out, and then we're going to get into NFL as well. We got the biggest surprise for the NFL season. The biggest disappointment, and then we'll just talk a little bit about NFL as well. Craig, being a Michigan fan, I'm sure Michigan will finish number one. They won their bowl game. I'm sure they will. I think there's a team that deserves to be number one more than them, but we can argue about that in a minute. I'm sure Michigan gets the number one spot, though.
I'm okay if they don't, because I really don't want to play the hottest team in the land right now. And if the numbers come out how they are projected to come out, I do not want to play Alabama. That plus the history of Michigan, Alabama is not a good one. I would much rather play Texas and that, but I don't know. They seem to be hot right now as well. So I really don't know.
It's crazy because this Georgia losing yesterday screwed it all up for everybody.
I called that about 7 hours before it happened.
Sorry if I'm coughing during this podcast. I've had this cough for like 8 years, it seems like. So I'm going to give you my rankings and what I want, and you give us your four rankings. Number 4. I'm guessing we both have Alabama. You said you don't want to play Alabama if you're number one. Is that where you see
I think so. I don't think you can leave SEC championship. The all 9 years the SEC champion has made it in. Now, granted, Georgia made that pretty easy by being undefeated for 2 years straight. But I don't think you can leave a team that just beat the number one team for 2 seasons, and they beat them in the SEC championship game, and they only have one loss. I think they're automatically in somehow, and so yeah, and you can't put them any higher than 4 because of the other 3 teams.
Yeah, you can't put them higher than 4. Look, there's Georgia's still deserving to be in this top 4.
And that's the problem. Any year that this has happened, if one loses, they're still in somehow. I mean. Yeah. This is how crazy this scenario is. Last year, we were justifying putting a team in that lost their conference title game. We were like, they're still in, no problem. Now we're like, there's some teams that are going to be undefeated that we're going to leave out. It's so crazy.
FSU's out, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. An undefeated Florida State team is going to be
left
on the outside looking in.
They're number 6, in my opinion.
Two one-loss teams. So that, I mean,
I have
FSU
6
this year more than anything ever.
I have FSU at 6. I have Georgia at 5. I have Bama at 4. I could still see Georgia they've been good all year, but you got to go look at who
There's
they played.
zero
And
chance that you could put Georgia in and leave Bama out
yeah,
when they just beat
they
them.
just beat them.
And you can't leave Texas out because they
Nope.
beat Bama, who would be in. So that win becomes Texas's ticket.
Yeah, when you start looking at all this, you got to go look at who they played. Did they play anybody? And Texas has played tough teams. They've earned it. I got Texas number 3. They've played. I had these pulled up. They played Alabama week 2. They played them early on in the season. They ended up beating them by 10 points. They played Kansas, which was a top-ranked team. They did lose to Oklahoma. They beat Kansas State, and they just beat Oklahoma State. BYU, Houston's on here as well. They beat Baylor, which Baylor was nobody's this year, but
nobody.
They have the resume there, I think, to get them over the edge, and they're undefeated, which helps out a lot.
Who is
Texas? Not undefeated. My bad. They had 1 loss to Oklahoma.
Try again. Yeah.
I got Michigan number 2, and I got Washington number 1. I think Washington's the best team in college football right now.
The only thing is Michigan and Washington. I think Washington might have a little bit stronger of a schedule.
Yeah.
But to me, you can't punish Michigan for playing who's in front of them. Michigan's got the Ohio State win. They've got Penn State, who was number 8 when they beat them, and then they have the number 16 Iowa that they beat last night and shut out. I don't know. You're splitting hairs
now. Well, you are. Well, I mean, I take it back to the strength of schedule. The teams I've watched, I think Washington's the better football team. I do think it'll be Michigan and then Washington. My standings, I'd rather have Washington over Michigan.
The only reason they jump them is because of who they beat in their title game. Michigan played Iowa, who was 16, and Washington plays Oregon, who was number 5 or whatever when they beat them. So
when you go look at their schedule, they beat Oregon twice. They were top 10 team twice. They beat them at 8 and at number 5.
That's what I'm saying.
They beat USC. They beat Utah at 18. They beat Oregon State at 11.
I mean,
had an impressive run.
They've had a very, if you look at that the strength of schedule, Michigan doesn't have that opportunity because the Big Ten didn't have, for the first time in a long time, they didn't have. Normally, Michigan has Michigan State, who's ranked, Penn State, who's ranked, Ohio State, who's ranked. They just didn't have that this year. I mean, they did beat 8 and they did beat 2, but I believe they beat both of those at home. So that's another thing to look at. Again, Michigan's in. I just don't know where. I just don't know where.
They're probably number 1, but like you said, you can't really punish them for winning. But I think Washington's a better football team.
And although Washington struggled against Washington State, who was unranked, I understand it's a rivalry game.
Well, it's crazy too because if Alabama loses to Auburn last week and there's not that Hail Mary to win the game, we're not having this conversation.
4th and 31, and he throws a Hail Mary, close my eyes and heave it, and we make that play in practice. Do you, Nick?
Yeah,
I think you do.
Yeah, and next year's is it next year where they're going to 8
next year when they go to 12?
12?
And it's too
terrible.
many. It's
6 or 8 is the magic number.
That's what I would think. And JJ
12.
Watt had a thing this morning. He's like, an emergency 16 playoff solves this. Michigan and Washington get a bye, and then the other 4 just draw out of a hat to see who they play, and we figure this thing out. And it would fit because you don't want, if you go past Florida State, it's watered down.
Yeah.
And I think when you go to 12, you're always going to get the argument of number 13 is going to argue they should be 12. You'll never fix that argument. But 12, when you go down to 12, you're going to have teams with 2 and 3 losses getting in. And they don't deserve to be in. When you lose 3 times, you don't deserve to be in. I mean, and so I think 6 or 8 would be perfect. Give the first 2 teams 1 and 2 a bye and let the other 4 play it out.
I think 6 is perfect. 8 okay.
8 even,
12
8 even gets down to 8 even gets down to 2 losses probably. I mean, if you go down to 8 this year, what 7 and 8 have at least 2 losses probably. And you don't want that. to give a team the ability to lose the format it is now, where if you lose a game, you could be out. And I don't like that because you almost have to be perfect. And that anybody on any given Saturday can lose a game. 2 losses, I don't think that deserves. That's where you start getting into thing. And especially the SEC next year when they get Texas and they get Oklahoma and all that. I mean, the SEC is going to be brutal. And there won't be a Pac-10 anymore, or Pac-12 or whatever it is. Oregon and them, they're going to break that all up. So it.
Do you think that's good for football?
No, because I think a lot of these rivalry games the Oregon and Oregon State and the Texas
Ohio
and
Michigan doesn't mean
Ohio
much,
and the Ohio State Michigan game will no longer mean anything with 12. They would both be in right now. It won't. This is the last year that put that much emphasis on that game, and it's sad because that's been a game where one of those 2 teams are normally fighting to get rankings, and now if Ohio State would have lost to Michigan by a little bit, and they'd still be in by a landslide. Georgia, you lose in the SEC title game, no big deal, we're still in. And these title games, these championship Saturdays aren't going to mean anything.
They're going to be out the window.
They're going to be, because by the time you get to that, those teams are still, long as they only have 1 loss, they're probably still going to be in.
Yeah, I think it's terrible for football. 12 is way too much.
It guarantees every conference title to get in. It guarantees
winner and loser, probably. I mean,
probably anybody who makes the title game. Yeah, Iowa would probably be in. And that team, if you watch that team doesn't deserve offensively, can't get out of their own way, can't score any points. They average 16 points a game. And that team would be in a playoff because they were in the conference title game. No way.
It seems like NCAA just said, "Hey, let's throw 12 out there. We'll make more profit off of it, and that's all
it's about."
And instead of what's best for the game and what's best for and look, LL football. I think this year it's been some lackluster games. There's been plenty of Saturdays where I'm like, man, there was not really a great headliner this weekend. You of course have your games here or there, but it seemed like this year in college football there was some lackluster football. And I don't know why that is or why that was, but it's just crazy to me that we're going to 12 teams. We went from 4 to 12. There's no in between, and it's gonna be a lot of watered down football. And it sucks for the fans.
It's going to make all these New Year's Day games obsolete. Like when you wanted the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, like those are not. Nobody's going to watch those anymore.
No one cares.
It means nothing. No,
unless you're a fan of that team.
Unless you're a fan of that team, and you're sitting there on New Year's Day and have nothing else to do and want to put your feet up and relax and watch college football, then then that's a thing. But the absolute drive or to that these games are important. The money that they used to draw in, it's just not going to be there.
Yeah, I don't like it one bit, and it seems like to me you would lose some viewership over that.
I think they're going to regret it in the long run. Yeah. I think this is about money, but in the end, it may not give you as much money as you think because you're going to lose a lot of viewership on a lot of your important games, and these bowl games aren't gonna like I think the sponsors of these bowl games aren't going to sponsor them anymore. The Tostitos Festival. Well, Tostitos is not going to have any reason.
Cheez-Its and
yeah,
all that.
You're gonna be getting the Pollen Weed Eater Bowl is going to be that's going to be the sponsor of the Fiesta Bowl because you're not going to be able to get these big names to sponsor games anymore because it's just not going to be worth it. Dr. Pepper and Tostitos and all these Big 12 title sponsors and big they're just not going to be meaningful anymore.
Yep. And it's crazy because I was talking to Ryan about this, Ryan Sims about this, and last year Texas. What did Texas win last year? They won what bowl? It was the Sugar Bowl. What, I don't know what bowl it was.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean,
And he's like, "Oh, that's huge." I'm like, to me, it doesn't. Unless you're national championship, it doesn't mean anything.
yeah, I mean,
All these little bowl games to me didn't mean
that's
much.
what I'm
And
saying.
now you
Even when they
just-
went to this format of the four, the bigger bowls didn't mean as much.
didn't mean much, and now you're just
Because-
taking way more away from them. I mean, it just
And then what they have now is a loophole is they've got 2 Rose Bowls or 2 Sugar Bowl. Well, this is the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. Then there's a Sugar Bowl that's for the championship. Well, no. Yeah, and it's just to try to get the sponsorship. And I think they've jumped the shark here in 12 by a long shot. You missed the whole 6, you missed the whole 8. Try that first before you get, because I think 12 is way too many, and hopefully that's only a 1 year thing, and they realize
change it up.
and they realize, wow, 11 and 12, maybe even 9 and 10 don't when 9 and 10 get blown out by 40,
Right.
then they're going to be like, no, this wasn't a good idea.
Not a good idea at all. Let's see. Trying to pull the top 25. Yeah, you got Oklahoma, Mississippi, Penn State, Missouri.
Yeah, Penn State
that's 9 through 12.
Penn State's got how many losses? 2?
2. Oklahoma
2 or
has
3.
2.
Yeah.
Oregon is number 8, and that might be the only team. They have 2 losses. They might be the only team that I'm like, I could see
2
them
losses to the same team.
to number 1. To number 1 or 2.
Yeah. So 8. So you could justify 8.
I think you could justify 8 with this, but not every year is the same. So
no, but I mean you could justify 8 and still be okay.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's jump over to the NFL. NFL season is here, and we're on the back side of it now. And Craig, what is your biggest surprise so far this year? What team's the biggest surprise this season so far for you?
I wanna go and say the Detroit Lions, but I'm really not surprised because of how well they played last year, and I mean I think that division has had Kirk Cousins blow his ACL or his Achilles, and we knew Chicago wasn't going to be any good. I picked Detroit to win the division, but I didn't think they'd have a 9 billion game lead going into December, where they could basically just fall apart in December and still win the division going away. Yeah, I guess I go with them just because I don't see anything off the top of my head that else that jumps out at me.
We got a message. Derpy Entertainment. Here we go. Thanks for jumping on, Derpy. You can jump on and follow us live on YouTube and comment during the show. My biggest surprise this year, and it's not like a crazy surprise like this team is 9-3 or something, but I got to go with the Houston Texans. They're 6-5. They picked CJ Stroud coming in this season. They go out and they get a new coach. They go out and they make a splash and in the draft by picking a 2 top 5. They picked the number 1 and number 3, was it?
Yeah.
In the draft. Yeah. And CJ Stroud looks like an absolute stud, rookie of the year. This guy is in the MVP talk with conversation. Not like he's actually going to, but he's actually in the conversation. They've hit a home run on their quarterback this year. They look, 6-5. It's nothing amazing, but where they were last year and what this team has been, kind of the laughing stock of the NFL, to where their future looks pretty bright. I've got to give Houston Texans that biggest surprise this season so far, and they have a chance to keep battling, and I could see them possibly making a playoff spot in a wild card, and that would be A big success for the Houston Texans, and that would be considered a win of a season for them. I've been watching some of their games just because CJ Stroud's been fun to watch. Have you sat down and watched any of him this year?
Yeah, believe it or not, I mean, I've always been the Ohio State quarterbacks transfer to the NFL are trash.
Yeah.
He's kind of broken that. He did. He kind of broke that a little bit. And I think he's getting a little bit too much hype. I mean, with the MVP and the all this, that I think that's a little too much, because he still makes some throws, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, stop trying to make that. That's not like let's stop. And that's happened in the last couple of weeks, and I believe that those kind of throws are because he's reading the press clippings of this guy's the next, deal. And now he's like, oh, I could do whatever I want. And then he goes out and throws some stuff, and you're like, well, what are you doing? Stop. And but I think DeMeco Ryan has punched his ticket as legitimate. You wondered. I think so. I think so. I mean, I think you got a lot of them. I think if Dallas finishes high, that McCarthy will be in the mix, and I think the Detroit head coach Campbell is going to be definitely in the mix from what they've done, and they've had so many years of struggle, and now he's going to win 12 or 13 games probably. That's a huge jump. That's almost as big of a jump from where they finished with 9 last year to 13 as Houston if they win 8. It's kind of the same jump. So there's that. But I mean, I think DeMeco Ryan, you wondered why
Houston, why he would choose that.
And he just wanted out of, he's in San Francisco. He can have success, and he comes in and he really has made a splash, and so that's been impressive. And really he's a defensive coach, and offensively they're doing so well. I think it's just surprising. So yeah.
Cat is in the building. Hello, Cat. Good to see you. Thanks for jumping on. We're going to talk about your Kansas City Chiefs here in a little bit. All right, let's go the other way. Let's go the biggest disappointment. And I'm going to give mine first here. My biggest disappointment, it's no surprise. It's not really a surprise. It's the Chargers. They're at 4-7. This team has the talent to be a top team in the league. They have a great quarterback who people are jumping off the bus for him. They've got talent on both sides of the football, and this coach can't get the job done. It doesn't add up to me on how well you put this team together on paper and how well they should be playing and how well they're actually performing. And they're last place in their division. The Raiders, the Vegas Raiders, are a game above them right now. It is absolutely time to fire your head coach after this season. I don't know how he made it back from last year, and start over the coaching staff, because this is bad. You've got to put a team around. You've got to get a coach that works well with your quarterback, because right now it's not working out in LA.
Yeah, mine is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Here we are. We sat a year ago, and Josh Allen revenge tour, and both picked him to be in the Super Bowl, and they've got 5 losses, and are probably going to finish with
6.
7 or 8.
They're 6-6.
Okay, so 6-6, and they're probably going to finish with at least 8, maybe 9 losses. Their schedule. They got to play Miami again, I believe. They got to play Dallas. So I just think that team, and you talk about the talent, you've got internal problems already. It started in the preseason where the Diggs goes and leaves the deal, and we told him he could go, and they've tried to wash it under the bus. I believe that head coach is also on the hot seat and probably is going to be gone, and that whole organization is probably going to be blown up and differently. I don't know what the contract status of Josh Allen is, how many he has left. I think he was part of the Dak Prescott like that years. I don't know if they could financially move on without going to Spotrac and looking it up. Can move on from Allen or not. But Diggs, I can promise you, he won't be there next year. And
No,
they've never had a running game. That's been the one thing that they thought maybe they would get the running back from the Vikings, who's gone over to the Jets and just completely been non-existent.
Well, we talked about the Bills a lot last year,
Yeah.
and we talked about them a lot in the preseason, and I said this is that year. You have a team that's so talented. They've never got over that hump, whether it be luck, whether it be a coin flip in the playoffs, whether it be 13 seconds against the Chiefs. But you reach that point where you go, okay, this is as far as we're going to go. It's time to blow it up. They were good, but they're not going to go any further. Something's missing. We got to blow it up and start over and try and find it again. And this year, I was hit or miss on the Bills and thought it could go either way. And right now, it's going down south. And I think they'll scrap it all at the end of the year. I don't know. I don't think they get rid of Josh Allen, but Diggs will be gone. They'll find a new head coach. They'll probably get a whole new coaching staff regime in there and start over. But Josh Allen's got to control his turnovers. There's games where he absolutely kills his team.
Absolutely. And they were saying this.
They lose.
They were saying this and comparing him to Dak Prescott and he's having this season and you're like, what? I mean, I remember in the preseason when I picked Miami and everybody was like, oh, well, I don't know. There's like 2 or 3 teams that can win the division. Yeah, Buffalo cannot win that division. They're not even in the discussion. And so that's how much they've fallen off in just one season. Is they were a 1 or 2 seed for the last couple of years, and now they probably aren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they still could possibly edge their way in.
They would have to beat some really good teams to do it.
No, they've got they play Kansas City next, then they got Dallas, and then they got the Chargers, and they still got to play Miami. They've got a uphill
There's
schedule.
3 losses right there, probably.
They've got an uphill battle,
or at least 2.
Chargers could beat them. I mean,
they're not beating Miami, and they're not beating Kansas City.
They're talented. Let's see here. All right. Well, I said we were going to talk about the Chiefs, Cat. Here you go. Me and Craig kind of downed them last year, and we'll never do that again. No chance that the Bills beat the Chiefs next week. I don't think so. Hey, my Packers play you guys on Sunday Night Football, and I don't think we have a shot to beat you either. But isn't it this weird narrative around the Chiefs this year, Craig? Because they're 8-3, and the way we talked about the way the media, not us, the way the media has talked about the Chiefs is, wow, they're on the struggle bus. Wow, this offense hasn't really been clicking in. And I go look at their record, and they're 8-3, and they're winning their division. So that's the narrative I've gotten this year from the media is they don't believe in the Chiefs that much this season and this offense and everything else, but the record says otherwise. That's what's weird to me about it is they've painted them as they're not as good. They're not that good this year. Something missing. Wide receivers, they've lost games literally because wide receivers can't catch the ball, but they're 8-3 and they're going to win their division. So I'm never counting the Chiefs out again, and they'll be there. They'll be there at the end of the year fighting in the playoffs. I mean, we learned our lesson from last season with them.
Real quick, it's official. The committee has spoken, and it's Washington and Texas and Michigan and Alabama. And that's it.
What are number 1, 2, 3? Is there?
Well, Michigan will play Alabama, so I'm assuming they're 1, and Washington plays Texas. So I believe it's exactly exactly like you had. Like it's Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama, and so that has been spoken. And Georgia is out, and the undefeated Florida State is out. So that's official.
Awesome breaking news there. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. If you missed it, if you missed it, go back and listen to it or watch it. I think they got the right teams in there.
I think they got
Texas, Washington, Michigan, and Bama's. And Michigan, like I said, I think Washington should have been number 1, but we can't punish Michigan there for winning. So
Yeah.
But hey,
but yes, Kansas City is just doing what Kansas City does, and
because well, the media is trash.
Well, and I mean, you just can't.
I mean, am I wrong?
They lose somebody. No, that's what I'm saying.
Have you gotten that from the media this year and how they portray the Chiefs? I mean,
well, they just don't. It's almost like they just don't talk about them this year. It's like they don't exist. There's been other storylines, and here you are. They're 8-3. They're winning the division. They're doing exactly what they've always done. They're not getting the national games. You don't see them on Sunday night. You don't see them on Monday night. You don't see them on 3:00. But here's the deal: 3:00 in the afternoon on Sunday. You got all these primetime games that happened on Thanksgiving, so the Cowboys are out, and these teams are out, and who are they putting on? They're putting on the Eagles and the Niners on the game of the week, because I mean Kansas City just does not get
Kansas City is playing the Packers Sunday night this week, but
okay. Well,
I get what you mean. They're not they're not usually.
How many Sunday night games have they had? Is this their first one? I don't remember them playing. And they haven't been on Monday night. I mean, it's weird to me on how
a lack
teams
of
teams like Buffalo get 3 Monday night games. Teams like the Giants are on Sunday Night Football twice. I guess probably because they play Dallas, but still,
you got the Bears getting these.
Yeah, you just don't see
garbage.
The Kansas City Buffalo game, the Kansas City Miami game, the Kansas City Cincinnati. That should be another place I could have gone for the most disappointment is Cincinnati.
I was going to go there, but then they lost their starting quarterback, so it's kind of irrelevant.
They weren't tearing it up before they had him. Speaking of that guy, talk about teams that might move on. You might see Jamar Chase wearing a different jersey next year. Keep that in mind. I said that.
Why would he leave Joe Burrow? I don't understand.
I'm telling you, the talks are already there. The groundwork is set. Him and Zach Taylor have had words, and they're not going to get rid of Zach Taylor because of the success he had. Keep in mind that I said on December 3rd of 2023,
Mark it down.
Chase,
December 3rd.
Put it on the board.
Here,
that Jamar Chase might be wearing another jersey next year.
Jamar Chase.
So
it'd be stupid for him to leave a quarterback like Joe Burrow.
It would be.
All right, well,
but the AFC is not the powerhouse that it is. So keep in mind that Kansas City will probably just walk right into their 95th Super Bowl in a row.
Let's calm down there, all right? Because we got the Miami Dolphins. You've got the Baltimore Ravens who've been on a hot streak.
I am not.
And look.
On that train.
I am not on that train either. I don't like Lamar Jackson. I don't like Baltimore Ravens. But here's what I'm just saying is, and they don't talk about them. I don't think anybody talks about Baltimore is because they know they're not going to. They know they're Baltimore. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. They'll go to the playoffs and they'll lose. But I could see them upsetting Kansas City in the playoff. Like it could happen. It could happen. Not to go to the championship, but it could happen. But
I could also go in my backyard and find gold. But I probably won't.
It could happen, but
yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I mean. I asked this question. I'm gonna ask this question. It seems like there's been a lot of mediocre football this season. A lot of mediocre football.
There's a lot of games that don't mean anything, and they're
You've got to cut. You've got a handful of teams, and that's about it in both conferences. Yeah. In the NFC, you have the Eagles.
You got 3 or 4 teams in the NFC and 1 or 2 in the AFC, and that's about
Eagles, Cowboys, Niners, maybe Detroit. I wouldn't put them on that echelon yet. And then on the other side, you have Chiefs, Miami, Baltimore, and I'm not counting the Jaguars. They're 8-3 right now too. They're having a quiet, good year right now as well. But I don't believe believe Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence. There's been a lot of mediocre football though. I mean, the NFC North's absolute garbage. The Packers have been playing better, but we're absolute garbage in the division. You got the NFC South, who's also absolute trash. 5 and 6 teams winning that one. The Rams are bad.
That could be another year another year of a team under 500 winning a division.
Arizona
and getting a home game.
Arizona got worse when they got Lamar or Murray back. They've gotten worse.
They just cut Zach Ertz. They just put Zach Ertz on waivers. Imagine ever hearing those words come out of anybody's mouth.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of mediocre football, but here's what I'm going to say, okay? I've got to give credit where credit is due. And it pains me to say this because I don't like this football team.
Welcome to the bus.
And it pains me to say this. No, I'm not on no damn bus. Get out of here. It pains me to say this because I've never been really a big fan of Coach McCarthy, but we've got to give Coach McCarthy some credit. We've got to give the Dallas Cowboys some credit. Now, look, I'm not a Cowboy fan. Craig can tell you, I actually hope the Cowboys lose, and it's funner for me if they lose. They haven't played a whole lot of good teams. That's where the skeptic's going to come in. Is they really haven't played nobody. But they've been blowing teams out of the water. Coach McCarthy, first year in the offensive minds, changing over the offense. And the biggest difference this season to me is Dak Prescott. And the biggest difference is Dak Prescott looks confident. He makes better decisions with the football. And they talked about, in this whole offseason, they talked about dumbing down the offense. And a lot of people took that as a bad thing. It's actually an excellent thing. Dak Prescott has more control of this offense. Dak Prescott seems to, whether they dumbed it down or whatever they did, he seems to be really comfortable in it. And it's worked out really well for Dallas. That I'm going to give you kudos for. I'm going to give you guys a pat on the back. Coach McCarthy's worked out really good.
I died on that hill 148 times.
Really
Welcome
good.
to the
now,
club.
Hold on. I'm not done. Hold on. I'm not done. The skeptics is that the Dallas Cowboys haven't played nobody and they don't win those tough games. And that is going to be there until they prove otherwise, until they can beat Philadelphia, until they can go
if you watch the Philadelphia game, they them for 59 and a half minutes, and we're about 8 yards from coming back and winning that football game. And if it wasn't for referees throwing flags at the hot dog vendor got the football in the deal. That's
don't blame the ref. Don't blame
the guy in the third row.
Don't blame the referees. I'm tired of hearing that from Dallas Cowboys fans.
I
don't want to hear the referee excuse, Craig.
All over the NFL.
I don't want to hear it.
It's been all over the NFL. You've heard it in every big game.
I don't want to hear the refs.
When Philadelphia beat Buffalo.
I don't want to hear the refs cost us the game. I don't want to hear it. That's Cowboys go-to. I don't want to hear it. It's the Cowboys go-to. I don't want to hear it. Until the Dallas Cowboys can go into a playoff game on the road or whatever and beat the 49ers or beat Philadelphia, they're going to have that perception of they can't win the big game against difficult teams until they prove otherwise.
The 49er game is completely justifiable. They look cool.
Oh, yeah. You didn't look like you deserved to be on the same field as this team.
But Dak Prescott was the best player on the field and made Jalen Hurts look terrible in that game, numbers-wise, play-wise, everything about-wise. And all I hear is Jalen Hurts is the next coming of Jesus. And it makes me throw up on my mouth.
You know what's crazy? What's crazy to me is, that Cowboys just beat Seattle. Everyone talking about Dak Prescott, but my God, Geno Smith had a day. He outplayed Dak. 334 yards. Like, he's throwing dimes. Yeah. I'm like, what in the world? Let's talk about this guy.
DK Metcalf is a man among boys.
Yeah.
I mean, he was running away from people. He made Deron Bland, who was the defensive player of the month and all this, look like a child. And he just grabbed the ball from him and ran away from him. I mean, he had 158 yards at halftime. I mean, it was. Yeah.
It was the Randy Moss Minnesota game a couple.
Yeah.
Where he had 3 catches for 300 yards. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Now
and
I'm gonna.
And Geno has these games. He had them last year. That's why he got the paycheck that he had.
I'm gonna have to text Ryan and tell him to go listen to about the 35-minute mark because I just highlight praise the Dallas Cowboys and I don't really usually do that, but we got to give praise where praise is due.
We're gonna take that clip and put it on Facebook.
Yeah. They're gonna. Yeah. Good luck with that. And people look. I don't believe that Philly's as good as the record is either.
No.
But all they do is find ways to win, and you can't argue that, right?
No, yeah, they do.
So, They're looking at number 1 seed. They're looking at another bye in the playoffs. Going to Philly is
maybe.
difficult. Now there is a path where that Dallas could take over the division if Philly loses this week, right? They lose today, and then they play each other next week, and Dallas wins. They're back even, and the Dallas Cowboys still have a chance to win their division. But there's a lot of, it takes Philly losing 2 back-to-back games, and I just don't know. Today will be a good game. Today will be a good test. You got the 49ers and the Eagles today, so that'll be a good test.
Is that game in San Francisco?
It's in Philadelphia. So that is that. Let me check. Let me check that real quick, but I believe it is in Philadelphia as we're going out to watch that game. Yep, it is in Philly. So, look, I just got to give credit where credit's due. Dak's looked really good. They're talking about Dak winning MVP this season if he keeps on this pace. So, what? And I know, Craig, you've been a big Dak believer. What's different this year that's made him to take it to another level, in your opinion? I told you mine. I think the offense. I think McCarthy changes some things up to really help them see the field better or whatever it is. What's your?
It's the decision making. It's guys that aren't. You got wide receivers that are experienced in route running in Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has been
monster.
I mean, an absolute monster. One-handed catches, and there have been him and Prescott have a connection that Dak's never had. Dak's never had a guy to where when he's out running around, it's like they're playing street ball. Dak threw a ball the other day, and I believe, in my opinion, when I went back and watched it, I believe he was throwing it away. He was running outside the pocket, and he threw it to the sideline, and Lamb comes out of nowhere and comes up and grabs it and 2 knees and slides out of bounds. And Dak's over there smiling like, that's what I meant to do. No, it's not. You were throwing it out of bounds. You were outside the tackle box. You were getting rid of the football. And that's the kind of connection that those 2 have is I'm going to throw it to a spot on the field and I'll come, just throw it out there. I'll figure the rest of it out. And he said that this is the most fun he's ever had playing football, even when he was in Mississippi State, even when he was his whole career, that this is the most fun he's had ever playing football. He's not taking bullets every week from the media. He's not. I mean, there have been a couple passes that he threw, and again, just like C.J. Stroud, you go, Dak, what were you looking at? I don't see it. So there still is that part of it, but not near the amount of times. And in the Philadelphia game, he drove down the field, and they got a bad break. But he's again, the Seattle game. That's a game last year they don't win.
Yeah,
it's a game last year they don't win, and somehow this year they walk down the field and they put it in when they need to put it in. The red zone offense has been a million times better. Brandon Aubrey has not missed a field goal. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
And so you got a kid who played soccer his whole life who's now kicking field goals in the NFL, and extra points are a little bit, where she missed 2 of those. But at the end of the day, another biggest disappointment is Tony Pollard. They need to fix that before the playoffs.
Yeah, they need a better running game.
They need a better running game. 55 yards a game is not going to cut it. When you get into the playoffs and play these teams like San Francisco,
and you're playing in cold weather, and
you're going to need ball control.
Maybe the rain.
Teams, to beat teams like Philadelphia, to beat teams like San Francisco who have the high-powered offense, you're going to need to slow it down, and you're going to need to take some time off the clock. And Dallas can't do that. Dallas is a track star. They're moving up and down the field. They're throwing the ball. I mean, Dak's throwing the ball 45 times a game because Tony Pollard is non-existent. So in the next 4 weeks, you better figure that out. But other than that, and that's how he's become in the MVP discussion is because he's having to throw it 45 times a game.
And he's last year he threw 10 interceptions. Yeah. He said he won't do that again. He's held onto the ball really well. He's not making those decisions. His wide receivers are catching the ball instead of having it bounce off him.
And 5 or 6 of those interceptions last year were dropped or guys that just quit on the ball.
Yeah.
And so, Absolutely.
So I had to give credit where credit was due. Obviously, Philly's looking good. Detroit's kind of that one that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, but they're a tough team.
Well,
that coach, I'll run through a wall for that coach.
yeah. Well, and
like
Detroit, if you'd have asked me before the Thanksgiving game, I'd have said they were an absolute team that you had to deal with. But then they go out on Thanksgiving, and I don't know if it was we just thought we had to show up against Green Bay, or if it was they've got two games this year in which they've just laid complete eggs. Well, maybe three.
Yeah.
The Baltimore game.
Whooped the
I mean, yeah, they that 2 years in a row that Baltimore's embarrassed them. Green Bay, they were never in the game. They had 12 turnovers by halftime. I mean, Jordan Love looked like he could move the ball up and down the field however he wanted to guys. There were guys that had more catches in the first half than they had their entire season.
All year.
You know, and you're like, who are these guys? I'm looking them up going, I don't even know who this guy is. Why is he on the roster?
Yeah.
And
welcome to my offense.
And he's making 3 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown at halftime. So, and then the Seattle game, they've lost to Seattle. Geno Smith has had their number the last couple of years too, but they always give Dallas a fit, no matter if they win 2 games or if they win 10. They always give Dallas fits. They played Philadelphia extremely tough. They've beat some really good teams. They've had, I mean, Goff has looked really good. Their defense is amazing. They might get their best defensive player back in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who tore a pectoral muscle, and they've opened his window of 21 days to practice. They were talking about it might have to go into round 2 of the playoffs to get him back, and now it looks like they might get him back before the end of the regular season, so that could be a huge deal. San Francisco looks like they've struggled a little bit over the last month. They haven't been.
They've had a lot of.
Brock Purdy has looked like Mr. Irrelevant at times, and looked like he might not be as great as what they thought. Today again will be a huge test for him. When they played this team last year, he only played 5 snaps, and Hassan Reddick blew up his shoulder and ruined his whole ear, and so
it was a bad game last year when they couldn't throw the ball. They had to run.
When
That's it.
CMC is your quarterback for the second half of the game. I hope that doesn't happen today. So at the end of the day, Philadelphia is probably where it's going to go through, just because of the schedule and everything like that. I don't know tiebreakers if they lose today and lose to Dallas. I don't know who has the tiebreaker. But at the end of the day, Dallas has looked a whole lot better, and is on pace to probably win 12 or 13 games. Philadelphia is on pace to win 12 or 13 games. The 49ers are probably on pace to win 12 or 13 games. And the Lions are probably going to win at least 12. They got to play Minnesota twice, and they don't have – I mean, that looks like a complete and utter disaster. They do get their wide receiver back this week or next week, when they play the Lions. But the quarterback, he comes up and shows up and saves the day on 2 days of no practice, and they highlight him and the game ball and think he's the second coming. And now over the bye week this week, the coach is like, might go get another quarterback. We're not real sure. So that's where things are at in Minnesota. So it'll be an interesting last month.
Well, let's see real quick, because Green Bay, they play the Chiefs, which we're probably going to lose that game.
Yeah,
but
there's no probably.
We play the Giants. That's winnable.
That's a win.
We play Bucks. That's winnable. We played Panthers.
Winnable, but that's win.
That's win. We played Minnesota.
That's a win.
We play the Bears.
That's a win.
And
so I think you can ideally add 3.
We could go 10-7 and being around for playoffs. That's not unrealistic.
That's crazy.
Now,
Juan might be buying lunch still.
Juan might be buying lunch still.
That's a thing. Wow.
You never know. Now look, when it comes to Green Bay, and I got to talk to him about him because yes, they're my football team. Beginning of the year, I was skeptic on Jordan Love, but I say he is a serviceable quarterback. You look at his numbers and you match him up with what Aaron Rodgers was in his first year, and he has the same numbers as Aaron Rodgers. And
I wouldn't go down that rabbit hole, but
now I'm not saying he's Aaron Rodgers, but if you look at the numbers, are there. Now, here's the biggest difference, though, Craig. Aaron Rodgers had great wide receivers, and Jordan Love has the youngest offense in the league, and we don't even have our best player in Aaron Jones, and he won't be playing against the Chiefs. So he's doing it with nobodies. That's a serviceable quarterback. You put a team around him. Let's get a couple draft picks. Let's put a team around him and build around this guy. I think I'm not saying he's going to be an elite Hall of Famer, but I think he is a serviceable quarterback that we can use. And if we build a team around him,
in between a rock and a hard place because
oh yeah,
this is it. He's out of a contract.
We gave him an extension before the year.
For how long?
I think like 2 or 3 years. Nothing long, but it's okay. More than just this year.
But it wasn't back up the Brinks truck because that's what I was afraid. That's what I was afraid you were going to have to do. You're going to have to give him QB money, which was $80 million, and he hasn't shown that, but he hasn't also shown that you should let him walk.
Oh yeah. It says in May of 2023, he signed a 1-year max extension. So we signed him for one more year.
Through next year?
Yeah. And it's $22.5 million contract extension. Which preempted the initial 5th-year option.
Okay. So they didn't they don't have to pick up the option. Yeah. They declined that basically and gave him $22.5 million.
Yeah. I think we go with him. I think we fire our defensive coordinator. He's been absolute garbage. He should have never came back from last year. I have mixed feelings on LaFleur. If I think he can be that guy, I don't think they fire him, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do. I just think if you got a new guy at the helm, changing offenses up is not going to be great for him. You need to give them time to bond together. But I know a lot of Packer fans think Jordan Love's trash, but I think we've given him nothing to work with, and I can't blame the guy. So, anything else you want to talk about in the NFL this year so far?
I think Cincinnati is I mean, even with the injury, that's no good, but that you're going to look for some changes there. I don't know if. I don't think Zach Taylor loses his job. You would think, but like I said before, I think maybe there's some rift with the wide receiver in usage and in just bashing heads in the locker room. So I don't know if you would be surprised to see him go. I think there's going to be some huge changes in Buffalo, and
Chargers.
I think that guy is gone. He might not make the end of the season.
Yeah, he might.
And like you said last year, how he survived the implosion they had last year, to where all you had to do was beat a team with hardly any wins, or tie them. I think you had to tie them.
You could tie them, and they both got in.
And you screwed that whole thing up. I couldn't believe he survived that. At the end of the day, like you said, there's been a lot of mediocre games, a lot of moving around. I think you're going to see more than ever. I think you're going to see the flex scheduling come in, and you're going to see these 6 or 7 teams that we mentioned on every prime time, Sunday night, Monday night, Saturday night.
Green Bay's last game against Chicago is to be announced.
They've already flexed. They've already flexed the Lions and Cowboys to Saturday night. Because that's going to be a important game for both teams
during Christmas.
Yeah,
during Christmas. Nice.
right before the 23rd or whatever it is, that weekend of Christmas.
Nice.
So you're gonna see the same teams popping up all over the place, and so anyway, I think at the end of the day, these teams that we mentioned are the teams that we're going to be watching go deep into the run. And I don't have a whole lot of faith in Lamar. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Lawrence. But I mean, again, if I'm gonna be on the side of you can only play who's in front of you for Dallas, Jacksonville is 8-3. They can only play who's in front of them. So there's that. But Dallas's schedule is extremely tough. You're going to find out what they're made of in December, and their record in December has not been one that you ever really are good. They've had a lot of seasons to where they finish with 2 wins in December or 1 win in December. So if Prescott is going to make a name for MVP, he needs to show up in December and play the same type of football that he's played over the last month. He's every number, every metric. He's been the top quarterback in the NFL in the month of November, and that needs to continue. And so, no, that's it. I think the college football playoff is going to be really good. Those are 2 really good games that will be there. I think the NFL gets some clarity over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and I don't know. Just look forward to talking about it.
Yeah, you know what's crazy too is Matt LaFleur has never lost a game in December.
Well, that would be helpful. I don't think that string continues after today, but
no, I don't think it does either. So let's see. All right. I was looking at the last couple games here for the Cowboys and Eagles. So Eagles have 49ers in Dallas and Seattle. So those are 3 tough teams.
Yeah.
Well, Seattle's depends.
But you hope that MVP, Geno Smith shows up and throws for another 4 bills.
They finish with the Giants, the Cardinals, and the Giants. That's 3 wins.
Yeah. The
Dallas Cowboys go Eagles, Bills, Miami, and Detroit. That's 4 difficult games, and then you finish with Washington.
Yeah, You have to win. You have to somehow win 4 of those. I don't know if it's possible because Dallas. If you look at Dallas, they always struggle against the speedy wide receivers, aka DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill, Waddle. I think Miami is going to give them fits. I think. I thought DK Metcalf would give him fits, and he did. And then Detroit, like I said, no matter what their team makeup is, when they went 2-15, they played Dallas tough. I don't look at that. Goff, I think that team is tough. I think Detroit can run the ball very well, and Dallas has not done very well against a run. So I think that game will be very tough. I think the Miami game will be tough. The Eagle game, I think they win because they normally split 1-1. And then Buffalo, does Diggs give them fits or not? Does Josh Allen show up and play well, or does he throw 114 interceptions? So I could see him going 3-2.
Ron Bland, another pick 6.
Maybe. I'm
calling it right now. That game.
He had another interception last week, even though he got burned for 95 yards. 95 billion yards. He did have another interception. He didn't take it to the house, but he had another interception. My question is, what do you do next year when Diggs comes back? Do you get rid of Gilmore and Deal, or do you have three defensive backs? Do you move Bland to safety?
Gilmore's been playing pretty good for you guys, though.
That's what I'm saying. You can't fault what Gilmore's done with Diggs' absence. So you're not getting rid of Diggs. You just signed him to a big contract. So
you're not getting rid of Diggs. You're not getting rid of Bland. You're not getting rid of, I don't know. Yeah. Gilmore might be the odd man out with his age, but All right, Craig. Well, I think that wraps it up. We're at the hour mark. So, guys, we look forward to jumping on here and getting back into this. We've been busy at work and busy with other things in life. But, Craig, it is that point in time where I ask you what is in your locker.
Well, I mean, this afternoon we're gonna go catch this afternoon game, and hang out with the guys here, and probably get some much needed relaxed time that we really haven't had over the last
Yeah.
6 weeks. That didn't involve driving and
Driving a truck and
yeah. So that'll be fun, and got a couple Christmas parties coming up over the next couple weeks, and so some much needed downtime. Maybe throw in a hunting trip. Not real sure after the monster that I killed a couple weeks ago. That I have room in the freezer for too many more, but that's about it. Just trying to get some days off and look forward to the holidays upcoming and look forward to things calming down in the office and getting things back to where we can get things taken care of. That's about it. How about you, Brian? What's in your locker?
I feel you on the calming down in the office part of it. Well, this is the busiest time of the month for me, especially with kids and Christmas presents and Annabelle just turned 6. We had a birthday party for her last weekend, and but I'm hoping we can calm down at work, get back to how it should be. We've got the Christmas party on the 16th. That Saturday. There will not be an episode December 16th, and we might have to do it on the Friday or something. Figure something out for that. Yeah, this is the last weekend here. I have really nothing to do before all crap hits the fan of getting the holiday stuff. I still got to put the lights on the house.
Yeah, I got to do that
any
too.
of that stuff yet. So unfortunately, we got to get the Elf on the Shelf out and Gwen coming back from the North Pole and getting all that stuff going. And it's a great time of year, but it's also the busiest time of year for a lot of people and can be stressful as well. But start our traditions again. But other than that, we're going to go catch the game here, Boomer Jacks, and hang out with the fellas and have a good time and get ready for start the week on Monday. I'll come in all tired as heck on Monday morning at 1 a.m. But other than that, that's pretty much about it. It's just Christmas and the hustle and bustle throughout this time of year. But guys, thanks for jumping on, Kat and I forgot the other guy's name.
Derby Entertainment.
Derby, there you go. Derby Entertainment, that's what it is. Thanks for jumping on. Feel free to keep up with us and God bless and remember.
Keep it outspoken.